Presenting 11 Life-Changing Ways to Finding Unlimited Health and Happiness. Introduction. I wrote this book for two reasons. One was to share the amazing power you already possess to live a life filled with health and happiness, when you truly understand the mind-body connection. The second was to provide a solution for all who feel that up until now they have not reached the level of health or happiness they want or deserve. This is in part no small undertaking because by all accounts there are more people who are unhappy than happy, more people who are overweight than fit, more people dependent on prescription or recreational drugs, alcohol or overeating to make it through the day than ever before. In fact, more people whose very default pattern is to view the world through negative lenses. By and large we have become a society who has allowed ourselves to see and focus on the wrong things. Instead of looking for what is working in our lives we focus on what is not working. Instead of appreciating all that we have to be grateful for, we focus on what we don't have or on what our neighbor or other guy has. Instead of using available time to follow our passions and our dreams, we spend what limited free time we do have on empty activities like Facebook, television or surfing the web. Commonly, we spend more time complaining about our situation and participating in ain't it awful conversations, than we do actually trying to change our situation. Living this way. Is it any wonder that we are not happy or that divorce rates are so high in married couples? There can be no doubt that complaining and negative communication is not the grounds for a loving and rewarding relationship. Speaking of communication, here is another reason we struggle with our happiness. Our spirits need connection and communication in order to thrive and for us to feel alive, fulfilled and happy. But, instead of sharing time in deep and inspiring conversations with the people we love, we ignore them and communicate with acquaintances and people we barely know via our portable technology. iPhones and Facebook have become the norm of our communication, and with that, a plague of insecurity has become the consequence. There is more social anxiety than ever before. People have become unable or uncomfortable with actual face-to-face communication. Technology has actually negatively impacted our self-esteem and confidence. If you tune into it, you can actually see that we try to hide this fact by burying our heads in the cause, our iPhones. It has become easier to hide our insecurities in our phones than to say good morning to a stranger or engage people we love in heartfelt, meaningful conversation. Recently, I took my wife and 2 children to a sushi restaurant. As the 4 of us sat there having a nice meal and great conversation, a couple sat down in the booth beside us. Within seconds of sitting down, they both had their iPhones out and spent the next half hour while eating looking at whatever was on their phones. The few words they did talk to one another looked awkward and uncomfortable. I hate to state the obvious, but intimate relationships are dependent on connection. You might say that communication is the very precondition to love and even foreplay. How can love thrive under a trend that removes the very connection it is dependent on? In terms of seeing the insecurities that are running rampant these days. You just have to go to a party, be on an elevator or a subway train, or any place where people are in close proximity to strangers, to watch how fast people will use their phones to hide or act like they don't see anyone else. God forbid that they actually meet someone new. Yet how many people are unhappy because they can't meet new friends or never seem to meet that one special person who they might spend the rest of their life with? It is in these observations that I feel compelled to offer up a solution, a different way of being. In this solution, I am not going to suggest that we simply act positive, and I am not asking you to ignore advances in technology or that we go back to old school ways of being, by burning our cell phones. But, if we are truly to see the solution, the power we have already inside of ourselves, we must first become aware of the mass hypnosis that is impacting our lives. Especially if that mass hypnosis could potentially sabotage our journey to unlimited health and happiness. Part of the problem is that we have become a society that has been trained through commercial advertisement, societal trends and learned patterns of behavior to look for what is easy, convenient, and absolves us of responsibility. We look for junk food, alcohol, television, overeating, video games, shopping or someone else to make us happy. Every time we act in this way it leaves us feeling empty because it truly is the lowest level of happiness. It is fleeting, temporary and empty at best. The only residual to these types of behavior is weight gain, and feelings of guilt, regret and a lack of fulfillment. But, instead of re-evaluating our behavior what do? We double or triple up. Now we are overeating junk food, drinking alcohol and watching our favorite show, thinking that by layering these empty and unrewarding behaviors, it will somehow result in the real level of happiness we so desperately want. It always falls short. This is one of the major mass hypnosis that is negatively affecting society. We use coping mechanisms or look for quick fixes in the form of addictive behavior to make us happy. There is a truth to us as human beings with everything that we do. If we are sacrificing or hurting any part of our being, our dreams, our passion, our self-respect, our body it will result ultimately in destroying our self-esteem, self-love and rob us of our happiness. For example, when we eat large amounts of unhealthy food subconsciously we know we are disrespecting our body, and diminished self-esteem and self-love is the most damaging consequence. Much more so than the weight gain. Stay in a job that we hate we know we are not being true to our passions and ourselves, and again it is our self-love and self-respect that suffers. Use self-destructive addictive behaviors like drugs, alcohol, television, shopping, promiscuous sex, smoking, gambling, and overeating to push down our emotions or fill in our emptiness. In doing so, we are ripping apart the very fabric of our identity and our happiness. Self-respect and self-worth is the cost. Stay in a relationship that is negative, abusive or no longer working. Because we are not being true to ourselves or placing our self-respect as a priority, we tear apart our own self-worth. By not following our hearts, being true to ourselves, and taking responsibility for our actions and the consequences those actions have on our self-esteem and self-respect we find ourselves empty, disempowered and unhappy. Such behavior and the feelings it leaves us with also has another effect. It actually hurts our health. What you are going to learn is that negative emotional feelings will actually change the health in every one of your body's trillion cells. But, before we talk about that there has been a trend that reinforces that we absolve ourselves of responsibility for our health by placing it in the hands of doctors, who have little to no training on really where health comes from. Your average medical doctor gets little to no training on wellness, nutrition and exercise, and is actually taught to ignore the amazing power of the mind to heal and create health. Their training is on how to help when things are broken when we have a condition or an emergency not on how to truly be healthy. Looking for health from someone or something outside of ourselves, to relinquish ultimate control and responsibility for our health is hugely disempowering. It is also the other mass hypnosis affecting society today. Health and happiness requires that we become proactive in our intention. For most of us, when we do act in a proactive way, it is usually only to return us to the status quo prior to when things got bad. We take over-the-counter pills for pain, a multivitamin or vitamin C when we have a cold, visit the doctor when we have a problem, or choose not to supersize our order of French fries when we are feeling really fat. And that is where it begins and ends. If we are to move forward to a new existence, then we must be willing to acknowledge that there is a mass hypnosis that has been slowly destroying our health and happiness. It does not help to look for a scapegoat or an organization to blame. It is easy to look at the food manufacturers and the processed, nutritionally valueless junk foods they create in mass quantities and blame them. It is also easy to look at the pharmaceutical companies and the clever way their advertising message affirms our dependency on largely unnecessary harmful drugs. Their advertising suggests that we are being proactive in our health when we ask our doctor for the drugs being peddled down our throats on television. But, before we spend too much time and energy getting angry with big corporations and their drive for profit at the expense of our health, here is something to think about. While the practices of Big Pharma, the food manufacturers, and the way they manipulate politicians and organizations to promote their agenda is a reason to get angry, it has little to no bearing on our health and happiness. Ultimately, our health and happiness rests on us, our understanding of the mind-body connection, and taking a proactive role in and responsibility for our lifestyle choices. That is why, by the end of this book, you will be able to completely walk away from this mass hypnosis and the negative consequences it has on your health and happiness. You will have an understanding for the power you have in your mind, that once awakened will transform your health and happiness. And you will have 11 ways to tap into your best self, 11 life-changing strategies that show you how you can use the mind-body connection to have unlimited health and happiness. So now that we have taken a look at where we are, let's spend the rest of the time focused on where we are going in the unlimited health and happiness we will have once we arrive. I say that because that is where I am now in my life. I live a life full of unbounded love, joy, happiness and health. But, it wasn't always like that. In fact, it was difficult for me to even write the words in this introduction because that mass hypnosis feels so far out of my present-day reality. But, like I said, it wasn't always like that. So, let me begin there because I want you to see that I have struggled just like you might be struggling. I know what it is like to want more. More health and more happiness. Maybe you're also just like you? I also want you to see what can happen when you embrace the information I will be sharing with you in this book. Coming out of the trance of mass hypnosis. There is a saying in running your own business, that the biggest mistake one can make as a business owner is spending all your time working in the business rather than working on the business. I believe that life is exactly the same way. At least that is how my life was. I was so busy living in my life that I wasn't looking for ways to improve it. The biggest mistake we can make is just living our lives as it plays out and not taking the time to reflect or work on our life or ourself. When we do that, when we stop evaluating our choices, when we stop reflecting on our behavior, or when we live our life in constant reaction, then it is very easy to get caught up in the mass hypnosis I described earlier. This is where I found myself almost 5 years ago. On the outside it looked like I had it all, the North American dream. I was a very successful chiropractic neurologist in the health and wellness field. I had a beautiful wife and 2 great kids. When we went to parties we were all smiles and cuddles. Yup, on the surface, my life looked great. I think on a whole a lot of people's lives look like things are good on the surface. Many of our friends and family, some of whom are medical doctors, have shared through conversation that most of them are also caught up in the same mass hypnosis. Resigning both their happiness and health to a later date and using addictive behavior or something outside of themselves to deal with stress and unhappiness. So, here was how my life really was when you looked below the surface. I was working 12 to 14-hour days, 6 days a week. I was stressed about money and the business all the time. I was so busy taking care of others that I was completely neglecting myself. I had neither the time nor the energy to focus on my health, or my relationship with my wife and kids. I had always struggled with my weight off and on for much of my life, but now it was the worst it had ever been. Due to my stress I was emotionally detached and my relationship with my wife was strained at best. I gave my kids so little of my time in the evenings, I just wasn't there for them because of how I was feeling. I was too busy crawling into my cave of stress and discontentment. I didn't like myself and I didn't like what my life had become. My life was completely out of balance. I was so unhappy and stressed out all the time that I overate unhealthy food and drank a few glasses of wine every night just to feel better. To feel something other than overwhelm and fatigue. Of course, that was like throwing salt on the wound. It just made me feel more out of control, guilty and unhappy. As a result, I was 60 pounds overweight, felt sick and tired all the time, and my self-esteem was in the dumps. You might have heard this before, but it is hard to love others fully when you don't love yourself. It is also hard to receive love when you don't feel lovable. It sure was true for me. Feeling unhappy and unworthy only added to the pain and caused me to recede further into my own conflicted mind. So what do you think happens when someone's mind is full of turmoil, when their job has become nothing more than a stress, when their relationship is hemorrhaging, when their coping behavior only drives their self-worth and self-respect lower and lower, and their body is toxic, weak and unhealthy? Exactly. I got sick. Really sick. I found myself fighting for my life from a condition called meningeal encephalitis. The doctors guessed that it might have been West Nile virus, but the tests were inconclusive. I chose to believe it was because my health was so poor and my immune system was so weak that I wasn't able to fight the mosquito or whatever it was off. I had 105.4 degree temp and my ability to function as a human being just disappeared. I couldn't remember anything or speak. I had no idea who I was or who anybody else was for that matter. Not even my wife, who sat by my side in the intensive care unit all those days and nights. After 2 CT scans, MRI, and a lumbar puncture, they could give my wife a diagnosis but nothing more. Basically my brain was swelling and it was quickly killing me. My wife was told that there was a good chance I was not going to make it, and if I did survive that there was a high probability that I would be brain damaged. It was out of their hands and up to my body to fight it off. For 4 days my wife lived with the uncertainty that she was going to lose her husband. For 4 days my children cried themselves to sleep worrying if their dad was ever coming home. And for 4 days I fought for my life. Miraculously, on the 4th day my fever broke. And soon after that my ability to speak came back. I remember sitting up and my wife was asking me who she was. And I couldn't think of whom she was to me or even what her name was. But, then a good friend, who happens to be an orthopedic surgeon, came in and I acknowledge him in the way that him and I playfully communicate like we are teenagers. Dude. I said, dude. He responded. My wife's jaw dropped. Michael, do you know who he is? She asked. That's Nathan. And boom. In that second it all came back to me. I remembered who I was, what I had been through, and who that beautiful lady sitting next to me with tears in her eyes was. I began to cry after realizing the pain and uncertainty I had put her through. I could remember everything. The walking into walls and the throwing up everywhere, the procedures, the indescribable pain and pressure in my head and my inability to speak. I wouldn't have wished this on my worst enemy. An hour later, I was by myself because I was supposed to be resting, but I couldn't sleep. I was thinking about the last 4 days, my unbalanced and unhappy life prior to this event, my lifelong struggle with my weight, the wife and children I love so dearly, and all that I had almost lost. And 3 questions came to me. If I had died. Could I say that I had loved fully? Had I been the best father and husband I could be? Sadly. The answer was no. Again, how could I love them fully when I didn't love myself? If I had died. Could I say that I had lived fully? Did I live full out with the joy, health, energy and happiness that makes life rewarding, fulfilling and brings out the best in me? Sadly. No. And lastly, if I had died. Had I helped and served others on the level that I had always dreamt of? Had I really made a difference in people's lives? Had I mattered? The answer was no. not like I had wanted to. Yes, I helped my patients, but I had always felt like I was put on this planet to do more. I love helping others live a better quality of life. Until no. It felt like I had fallen short of my calling, my dream. There was also something else. I had begun to notice patterns in my patients. I had noticed the power of expectations in the results they got. Patients who expected to get better, did. Those who didn't, did not. In fact, even before I had gotten sick, I had begun to look at health differently, as I had begun to seriously study expectation theory and the placebo effect. I had begun to think that at least a part of the healing was happening because of them, not because of my treatment or any doctor's treatment. And the research I was doing was corroborating that theory. I also noticed that for many patients, I was an excuse as to why they didn't need to make lifestyle changes. I realized that in some way I was a part of the problem, as I became the fix-it guy for patients who didn't want to take care of themselves. I knew that if they ate healthier, exercised and stretched out, they could avoid many of their office visits. I also thought, who was I to talk? I was a perfect representation of how easy it was to live a life out of balance, to get caught up in the chaos, stress and mass hypnosis of our generation. And to ultimately fall back on unhealthy habits. After I got sick and asked myself these 3 questions, I swore that I was going to dedicate my life to changing and accomplishing these 3 things. I was going to love fully and always follow and give from my heart. I was going to live fully with the health and happiness that allows me to live an extraordinary life. And, I was going to matter. I was going to serve others by being a role model on how life can be, rather than a part of a healthcare system that encourages dependency and abdication of responsibility. Instead of helping people get out of pain and continue to make choices that didn't serve them, I was going to educate people on how to live a healthy lifestyle. I was going to dedicate myself to helping others escape the mass hypnosis that robs them of the health and happiness they deserve. I was going to live an extraordinary life. And show others exactly how to do the same. I had been given a second chance. And I was going to make it count. My journey into exactly how to do just that began in earnest that day. And this book summarizes the amazing information I discovered on the mind-body connection. Information that has transformed my life. In just 3 short months, I lost 60 pounds, tripled my energy and exploded my joy and happiness. Since then, the love, reward and fulfillment I have experienced from my career and relationships has been amazing. I am the loving and passionate husband I have always wanted to be. I am the kind, attentive and understanding father I knew I was capable of becoming. Sharing what I have discovered on the mind-body connection is transforming people's lives all over the world. It will transform your life as well. Let's begin. Shall we? Oh, and by the way, after reading this book, if you would like to receive ongoing information, tips and cutting-edge approaches to improving your health and happiness, you can go to http://www.mikemountain.com and join my subscriber list, or download a copy of my free report 7 amazingly simple tips for transforming your body, health and happiness. Health and happiness, the link. It is now clear that 95 to 97% of all human suffering is attributable to environmental toxins, lifestyle choices and chronic negative emotional stress or turmoil. We used to think that we were victims to our genes. That the gene pool that we were blessed with or cursed with was the greatest predictor of our health, well-being and future. And yet clearly with the statistic above, it tells us that suffering due to our genes occurs less than 5% of the time. In fact, in most cases expression of cells that could create disease, cancer or a hereditary condition require a trigger. Again, the most common cause of those triggers comes from the environment, lifestyle choices and emotional distress. Interestingly, The commonality between those three things is that they are all within our ability to control and change. We can control our environment, where we live, what chemicals we expose our skin to in lotions, creams, and plastics. We can control how much electromagnetic field exposure we get, whether we eat foods sprayed with insecticides, pesticides, etc. We have control of the lifestyle choices we make. We can choose to smoke, drink excess alcohol, overeat, and eat fast food and other junk. We can choose to exercise daily, eat healthy foods most of the time, or take vitamin supplements. We can choose to eat foods that are genetically engineered or raised with hormones, antibiotics, or made with chemicals that we know are harmful to our bodies, like concentrated sugar syrups, hydrogenated fats, or artificial sweeteners. We can choose to eat organic farm-raised hormone-free livestock or organic fruits and vegetables. And we can choose to subject our bodies to medications or vaccines when they may not be necessary. These are all a choice, and as a choice you are empowered by making informed decisions. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance equals unhealthy. Ignorance will kill you. But here is the thing. By and large, if I was to ask the average person which has the greatest effect upon their health, given these choices, they would say it was eating healthy and exercise. But, they would be wrong. It is important, but the single greatest contributor to disease and death is stress, anger, and all their siblings. And the single greatest contributor to health is love, happiness, and all their siblings. What we are talking about is the mind-body connection, the way that what you are thinking and feeling has an actual physiological effect on your energy and the health of your body. Said differently, your happiness and health are intimately linked. You are about to find out that buried beneath that link lays an amazing power, the power before health and happiness. Our initial understanding of this began with studies decades ago that started to look at expectation theory, human belief, and the placebo effect. The placebo effect is what happens when a patient is given a therapeutically inert, no medicinal or therapeutic value whatsoever, sugar pill, but told that this pill will heal their illness. It is in the belief that the pill will help that they are healed, not in the pill itself. It is in the power of the mind. The belief and expectation that they are going to get better that heals the body. Just like I noticed in my practice. People who believed and expected to get better, did. Now, some needed my assistance. Just like sometimes it is appropriate to go to the doctor or the emergency room, but now I believe many did not. Healing and health does not need to be dependent on pills, potions, or a healthcare provider to initiate the power of the mind, just an understanding. There are literally tens of thousands of documented cases of people with terminal cancers and diseased bodies who miraculously healed their condition almost overnight using nothing more than the power of their mind. Of course, there are always two sides to every coin. In this case it is the nocebo effect, the detrimental effect to one's health by simply expecting or believing that something bad will happen. I experienced it firsthand in patients who expected not to get better, who didn't, and I have seen it in friends who believed that they were going to get sick or become ill and who did. Just as there are many examples of miraculous healings, there are many examples of the opposite. People, who were told they had fatal condition, were led to believe that they were going to die and did. Later it turned out that there was nothing wrong with them after all. Lastly, we see the power of love, connection, and the human mind when we hear about an elderly couple where one of them is dying. Our heart melts as we share the ultimate bond of love through them as the one dies. And the spouse, sometimes in less than 24 hours, also passes on. To be reunited with their loved one once again. If your mind has the power to heal terminal cancer or to cause your death when there is nothing wrong with you. Imagine the possibilities for health. It should be clear to you that the human mind is amazing and has powers we have been ignoring or have been taught to overlook. The time has come to not ignore the greatest power we have. But to understand Embrace and harness this power for our ultimate benefit. Let us take a deep dive into how this all takes place. Let's look at the power of the mind-body connection and how with that understanding we can tap into our greatest level of happiness, health, energy and vitality. The truths that forge self-empowerment. When I first got out of the hospital, I spent hundreds of hours self-reflecting, evaluating and meditating on all that had happened in my life. It wasn't all easy. There were plenty of moments when I struggled as the why-me victim role came to the surface. I started to rationalize and justify why things couldn't change as the sheer immensity of what I was trying to do started to overwhelm me. I knew that I needed to change, but I didn't know how, let alone struggling with self-sabotaging habits and behaviors. It all seemed quite daunting. It became clear to me that I was facing the same question that we all face when desiring a better life. Why don't we do what we know we should do? And, I was determined to find the answer. I then spent thousands of hours reading, listening to and attending everything I could on understanding the human experience, from the neuroscience behind health and human behavior, to personal growth and success principles, from nutrition and exercise, to habit and behavior reconditioning. As a result, I started to formulate certain principles of understanding, things that were true for me, and since then I have discovered that they are true for everybody else as well. In no certain order, they are. Our life is always a reflection of what is going on inside of us. If we don't like an aspect of our life, first, we must change. The universe is always providing us with nudges or lessons. It is up to us to see those lessons and to use them to grow into a better version of ourselves. Our health is always a reflection of our thoughts and feelings. Our thoughts and feelings create a mood or state. Health is nothing more than a balance sheet. If we feel loving and happy most of the time, it will be reflected in our health. The opposite is also true. Even lifestyle choices like not smoking, eating nutritious healthy foods, exercise are a reflection of what is going on in our mind. All choices and actions are a window into our self-respect, thoughts, feelings, learned habits and patterns of behavior. Our body is always talking to us if we are willing to listen. It might be an awareness, an intuitive feeling, or an actual message like pain, contraction or distress. We memorize certain states or moods as we replay memorized experiences over and over again in our mind. The more we relive these positive or negative emotional memories, the stronger they become, powerfully entrenched in our subconscious mind, where they can take on a power of their own. Learned habits, patterns of behavior and memorized states of thinking and feeling are 10,000 times stronger than our willpower and discipline. People will use addictive behavior to try to push down these learned patterns of feeling or negative emotional states with drugs, alcohol, overeating, movies, television, technology. Anything that offers an escape from what they are feeling. 95% of what we do, think and feel each and every day is directed by our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is like the operating system in our computer. It runs our life's programs. Stated in a different way, your past is directing every choice you make today. Those choices will keep creating a future identical to the present. I now know how easy it is to rewrite your future health and happiness when you have the right information. But as you can see, these truths don't leave room for a scapegoat or blaming someone or something else. It says that our life is a result of all of our choices and actions, and those very choices and actions have created our present reality. You could say that your personality has created your present reality. Bottom line. It screams of personal responsibility, doesn't it? You could argue that someone from your past created those powerful negative emotional states with the hurtful way they treated you. Or you might be thinking that one of your parents gave you these disempowering beliefs or habits, but that way of looking at it only holds you prisoner and victim to your past. I know how it is. I watched my father work long hours and come home stressed from his efforts. I watched that as a child and learned my work ethic from him. I also adopted the attitude that being stress and impatience were just a part of being a hard-working provider for the family. I see the pros and the cons of such an adoption now, and I also realize that stress was what drove my father to a triple bypass surgery at an early age. I also saw how as a family we ate huge amounts of food not for the right reasons but for how it made us feel. Like somehow overeating would wash away the day's stresses. As a result, all of my brothers and I have battled with overeating, our weight and using food as an emotional crutch as adults. It doesn't matter that we are all doctors in assorted fields, no one is immune. These bad habits and negative patterns have been a struggle for us all. I decided right after my sickness, that I might have learned habits or behaviors that were hurting me, but it was up to me if I was going to continue to let them run my life. I was able to break my unhealthy patterns. And helping others become free from disempowering habits and self-sabotaging behaviors has become my passion. So, read those truths again. It states without equivocation that each of us is living a dream of our design. Our life is our creation. Those truths above showed me that the reality of my life prior to getting sick was of my doing and that any change I was going to make was up to me. By understanding the truths above, I began to think of it as ... If each of us lives in a dream of our own creation, then the only way to change my life, my health and happiness, was to embrace the fact that I am the dreamer of my dream. Said differently. My future is what I make of it. I am the engineer of who I am, who I become and all that has happened and will happen in my life. Life doesn't just happen to you. You are the creator of what you experience. What might be becoming clear is that the beliefs, habits, learned emotional states of being, and patterns of behavior you have learned from your parents, experiences and culture have been directing all your choices. Choices that have put you where you are right now, with the level of health and happiness you have right now. Not realizing this, it might be making you feel like your life is out of control and have you looking for ways to push down unhappy feelings. It might be making you feel overwhelmed and out of balance. It might be making you more susceptible to the mass hypnosis that can rob you of your power. But, relax, because we are moving towards giving you back all the control. In fact, that is exactly what I did. I empowered myself by taking responsibility for my conscious mind, my emotional mind and my subconscious mind. In doing so, it gave me back the control of all of my choices and behaviors. Soon, I will show you 11 life-changing strategies so that you can do the same. But before we do that, let's look at the conscious, subconscious and emotional minds as they relate to the learned or memorized patterns of emotional states that affect our health. The mind-body connection. If you have ever seen a brain in a picture or in lab, it doesn't look like much. In fact, this lumpy piece of gelatinous meat hardly seems capable of the marvel that is contained within. Your brain is made up of billions of nerve cells that communicate at dizzying speeds with other areas of the brain and with the body to allow you to be you. It is more complex and complicated than the world's largest and most powerful computer. But, its real genius is when it is in action. The mind is the brain in action, and to understand how the mind works is the most liberating and self-empowering of endeavors. The mind can be broken down to 3 distinct functions that are part of a closed loop or feedback system: the conscious mind, the subconscious mind and the emotional mind. Before we talk about each area, let's briefly create an image of how this closed loop or feedback system works. The conscious mind is where your thoughts originate. Whenever you have a thought, it communicates with your emotional mind. Your emotional mind knows that all feelings and emotions are experienced in the body, so it sends chemicals to areas of the body to release hormones. These hormones will allow you to feel congruent with the thoughts that you are thinking. You might say that you are in a state of being, where your thoughts and feelings have become one and have put you in a state or mood. The body then sends information back up to the brain, letting the conscious mind know that you are indeed experiencing a feeling that matches your thought. But, it also sends feedback from the body to the subconscious mind so that your state or mood can begin to be learned or memorized. Simply, your thoughts create feelings that are experienced in the body lets the mind know how you are feeling. Then the record room, subconscious mind, is notified of what you are thinking and how you are feeling, what your state of being is. The more often you are in a particular state of being, positive or negative, the more that state of being will be memorized or entrenched in your subconscious mind. So, before we look at the ways this system can go wrong and lead you into a life of unhappiness and ill health. Let's dive deeper, so we really get it. Your conscious mind uses only about 4% of the overall power of the mind. It is where your thoughts, willpower, deductive reasoning, goals and planning, problem solving, conceptual learning, communication, creativity and imagination take place. You would identify it as being you. Your unique self. Your senses, what you experience from the external world in the form of sight, sound, touch, taste, hearing etc. communicate readily to your conscious mind. This occurs because any time you are doing something, especially something new that is initiated by a new thought, you get immediate feedback from your environment so that you can begin to experience what you are doing. In order for us to truly experience something though, it has to be recorded chemically, and this is where the feedback loop comes in. So as you are thinking about and doing this new behavior, your conscious mind is also communicating with your emotional brain. Your emotional mind, also called the limbic or mammalian brain, is where the chemical cascade originates from. Your emotional brain releases neuropeptides through your hypothalamus that descend into the body to land upon certain tissues or glands to release hormones. These chemicals, neuropeptides and hormones, create the feelings associated with the experience. Feelings and the chemicals of emotion allow us to record the behavior. Emotions become the cement that solidifies the experience as these feelings are sent back to the conscious mind. That way we can identify with the experience and the way that it made us feel at the time we did it. So we recall it with greater clarity. That is why we really don't know something by thinking about it or knowing it conceptually. It is not until we have experienced it do we truly know it. Because the combination of thinking, doing and feeling chemically records the event. All feedback from the body is also sent to the cerebellum. The cerebellum, a massive brain tissue that sits under the brain itself, is the seat of the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind uses 96% of your brain power. Think of it as a vault or record room. Any time you have done something repetitively to the point where you can do it without thought, for example, driving a car or brushing your teeth. You have accessed a memorized behavior in the record room. Your subconscious mind records simple actions, but it also records beliefs, habits, learned patterns of reacting and behaving, and your emotional states of being. These records make up the subconscious programs that guide or control 95% of your actions each day. In the first 6-8 years of our life, information we see, hear or experience bypasses the conscious mind and goes straight to being actively recorded in our subconscious mind. As a result, it is very easy for us to record our parents' beliefs, habits and behavior. Through observation, conditioning and modeling, we adopt the operating system or program of our parents, culture and friends without the ability to pick and choose the good from the bad at that age. Since it is now a part of our subconscious mind, those same beliefs, habits and patterns of behavior become ours regardless of whether they serve our best interests or not. That is why we can have beliefs about learning and education, health and healing, wealth and money, relationships and happiness. That imprison us to a life of struggle and mediocrity. Likewise, we adopt our parents' habits in regards to saving, spending, eating, smoking, drinking, relating to others, level of expectations, work ethic, the meaning we give to our life's events and the happiness we experience. Remember when I shared with you my father's work ethic and behavior, and our eating habits as a family. They had become mine and it almost killed me. As these programs begin to guide our choices. Our choices begin to create our life experiences. Most of our experiences only build on the foundational programs that we learned as children. As our operating system creates our experiences only confirm our beliefs. Strengthening them within us. If you believe that life is hard and you have to sacrifice, because that is what your parents believed, then you will quite literally create that exact experience. And since that will be your experience, it will validate and strengthen your beliefs. Your personality, which is founded on your beliefs, habits and behaviors, is creating your present reality. You are never a victim to your environment or your situation. But you can be a victim to your own limiting beliefs, habits or behaviors. The subconscious mind is also continually recording your states of being. You could say that the conscious mind is to knowing, as the emotional mind is to doing, chemically experienced in the body, and the subconscious mind is to being. That means to say that there are three different levels of learning or mastery, from knowing to doing to being. So, when you are doing something new or thinking a certain thought, that thought creates a congruent feeling in the body. The body lets the mind know how it is feeling so that you are thinking and feeling the same way. It has become a state of being, and that state of being is recorded in the subconscious mind so that every time you do that same activity it becomes easier and easier. It also means that every time you are in a state of being or a mood, that it becomes easier and easier to get into that mood. And this is where the feedback loop and our subconscious programs can make us a prisoner. So let's now talk about when the system works against our health and happiness rather than with it. A prison of our own making. Why do so many people fall prey to the mass hypnosis seen rampant in society? Why are we so willing to give up the responsibility and relinquish control to others? Why are we okay with putting the decisions for our health in the hands of others, and why are we willing to bank on the benefits of pills, potions and elixirs? Why do we pass on our ability to take a proactive approach to health that would allow us to be both educated and empowered? More importantly, why do we surrender our control in any part of our life, knowing that when we do, our happiness is the greatest cost? Sorry for the rant to begin this chapter. I know this doesn't apply to you or you wouldn't have been reading this book, but these questions beg to be asked. It also sets up this chapter perfectly. So stay with me. Why do we not eat the way we know we should eat, or exercise the way we know we should? Why do we not scoff at the obvious peddling of nutritionally poor processed junk food in advertising? Why are we not repulsed at the very thought of putting something in our bodies that we know is damaging to our health and takes years off our life? Why are most of us unhappy and dispassionate? And why do we settle for life that falls far short of our childhood dreams and expectations? And why does the majority of people fall prey to addictive unhealthy behavior? Before I answer these questions, think about this. We are unhealthier now than at any other time in the history of the world. This generation is the first generation that has a shorter expected lifespan than the generation that came before it. It is predicted that our children will die younger than we will. Emergent healthcare is at its highest level of understanding and effectiveness, and is readily available. Yet, there is more heart disease, strokes and cancers than ever before. There is more obesity and diabetes than at any other time. If we were to take away diseases that came from poor sanitation conditions 100 years ago, then the reality is that we were actually healthier then than we are today. Obviously, for the masses, the threat of death doesn't appear to be a strong enough motivator, and financial costs don't either. The average person who is overweight will spend an extra $3,500 every year on health care. Well, the power is in the why and the reasons we have already alluded to. Every new generation adopts some of the beliefs, habits and behaviors of their parents. Each new generation also can be easily influenced by commercial advertising. Did you know that you and your children are exposed to 3,500 marketing messages on average every day? Most messages are for alcohol, drugs or food, fast food restaurants, processed sugar-laden food, junk food, alcoholic drinks, different medications and vaccines. All that you supposedly can't live without. Here's the thing. As long as the messages or cultural trends don't directly conflict with your beliefs, habits and behaviors but actually encourages the new generation to a greater expression of those behaviors. Then it has the ability to influence. That means to say that if mom and dad feed little Joey processed foods all the time, then Joey will pay attention to commercials that expose him to the latest and greatest junk food. He will want more of it and the commercials will feed his appetite and cravings for it. As he gets older, he will continue to eat unhealthy, nutrient-depleted foods made up of sugar, fat, salt and chemicals. He will believe that this is the right way to eat because it is what mom and dad always did, even though to eat this way is killing him. The reality is that mom and dad may have actually been raised in an environment where their parents cooked healthy, well-balanced home-cooked meals with real food most of the time. Fast food and processed foods were eaten occasionally out of convenience or a special occasion. The problem is that with mom and dad's busy schedule and the fact that eating junk is reinforced 3,500 times a day, they stopped taking the time to do the best thing and started doing the convenient thing. Mom and dad have made this choice, even though they know they shouldn't. As a result, their health is going to suffer, as is their self-esteem. Remember that when we do something that hurts a part of us, in this case our health, the cost is always our self-respect and self-esteem. But for little Joey, he is the one that suffers the worst consequences. He now has an entire foundation of beliefs, habits and behaviors that are driving a lifestyle of unhealthy eating. Addictive cravings from these foods only adds fuel to the fire that is killing him. The same negative progress from generation to generation is seen in living a sedentary lifestyle, and is exacerbated by technology that distracts the mind and keeps us forever in our seats. As a result, each new generation is not just sitting more and eating more, but eating more unhealthy foods, exercising less and drinking more alcohol. They are also looking to prescription drugs to put them back together when the consequence of their lifestyle starts destroying their body. Not only is it easy to flow along with this stream of mass hypnosis when everyone else is doing it and every message you see encourages it, but especially when you consider that it is built on a foundation of acceptability handed down from generation to generation. It becomes even easier in this busy, chaotic, overstimulating world we live in because stress and fatigue creates lethargy, laziness and unhappiness. As a result, addictive behaviors, like junk food, overeating, alcohol and all its friends reinforce unhealthy behavior as we use it as a coping mechanism to push down the unhappiness and frustration in our lives. I have spent much of my last 5 years in clinical practice helping people one-on-one with emotional addictive behaviors, physical health and weight loss. I have often said about someone who is struggling with their weight that food is never anyone's problem, it is their solution to another problem. This brings us full circle right back to you, your happiness and the subconscious mind. We all have learned recorded subconscious programs on beliefs that limit us, bad habits that control our actions and addictive behaviors that are destructive or disempowering at best. Most of our bad habits and addictive behaviors are linked or associated to our memorized emotional states of being. In fact, these habits and behaviors only re-trigger these emotional states when we do them because the way they make us feel afterwards. This means to say that if you overeat to push down a negative emotional feeling, you might feel better while you are eating as it stimulates your pleasure centers. But when you are finished, the guilt will only make you feel the same way you felt prior to eating. As you recall, any time we disrespect our body, turn our back on our dreams, or are not true to our authentic self, we hurt our self-esteem. These feelings of poor self-esteem and guilt become triggers for our learned negative emotional states of being. These emotional feelings trigger coping mechanisms of addictive behavior that create more negative emotions. The cycle just keeps repeating itself. It is easy for us to grasp that when we are learning something, that as we are thinking about what we are doing, we are also emotionally recording that experience chemically so that it is recorded subconsciously. But, what makes this potentially problematic is that your subconscious mind does not differentiate between you actually experiencing something or if you are only imagining the experience in your mind. As you now know, your thoughts and feelings together create emotional states. If you are having a loving or compassionate event take place with someone, then you will experience a loving and compassionate feeling. You will be in a state of love and compassion. You will know it without question because you experience those feelings in your body, hence the phrase "love you with all my heart," and those feelings will be communicated back to the brain so you are aware of how you are feeling. The whole system works well if we only recorded in our subconscious mind life's experiences as we were having them. Where we run into problems is that the same thing can occur without us ever being a part of that experience. When we see emotionally charged events on the news, in movies, on television, read it in stories, share a friend's situation, or just imagine it in our own mind, we can create a powerful emotional state of being. We have what are referred to as mirror cells in our brains that allow us to take on the emotional experience of others as if it were our own. When a friend is sharing a loving experience, we share that event and the emotions of that experience with them. If they are angry and hurt, we also can share all of that with them as well. This allows us to be sympathetic and to know how they are feeling, but it also can create a pattern of an emotional state of being in us. The more you replay or imagine in your mind an event from your past, an emotionally charged experience of a friend or something that you saw on the news or on television, the stronger you make that recording in your subconscious mind. The same is true for all the experiences from your past that you have had. If you were hurt in your first dating experience, and then relive that experience over and over again in your mind, then you strengthen that experience in your subconscious brain. Such an experience might have created beliefs and a negative emotional state of being that replays itself on every date you have had since. You could be on date with someone new and feel insecure, fearful, angry or melancholy and not know why. You might even think it was him or her making you feel that way. You could be self-sabotaging your potential intimate relationships and not even know it. We used to think that by the time we were adults that our brain was hardwired. That all of our nerves were in place and what we had was what we had. We now know that this is incorrect and that the brain is capable of massive change. 60% of your brain is set and similar to everyone else, whereas 40% is capable of change and growth, and is unique only to you. The neurons in your brain change and adapt physically and functionally depending on what you are doing, learning or focusing on consistently. Neuroplasticity is the process that allows your brain to undergo these changes. The saying is that, what we don't use, we lose. And the nerves that fire together will grow and wire together. What this means is that every time you relive a traumatic experience that you had in your past, saw on the news or on television, or shared with a friend or loved one, the more you strengthen that image in your mind. That image has thoughts and feeling attached to it, a state of emotional being, and you will experience that state every time you think about it. Your subconscious mind is recording the images and the state of being. Scientists tell us that people these days are spending as much as 70% of them time in negative emotional states of being. The reason is that not only will you think and feel a certain way when you think about one of these images. The more time you have spent thinking about the event or image, the easier it will be for you to be living in that emotional state of being. It is as if it takes on a life of its own. You could be doing something completely different and that image may not be playing consciously in your mind, but that associated state of being can be running all the same. The more times you relive it, the stronger the emotion associated with it, the stronger it becomes in your subconscious mind through the process of neuroplasticity. As it gets stronger, that image and the emotional state of being it puts you in gets linked or associated with other programs. The amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure in the brain, memorizes emotional states and will take you back to the strongest or most plastic, think of neuroplasticity, emotion you have recorded. The slightest trigger of the event, image, thought or feeling can get you reliving the image and the entire emotional cascade. Negative emotional states of being create the release of certain hormones that let you experience anger, hurt, jealousy, guilt, frustration, sadness, etc. Because the chemical signature is similar in many of these emotions. You can find yourself being frustrated at work and all of a sudden find yourself going to a much deeper or unhappier negative place. Why? Because the emotional chemicals being released due to the frustration activate the powerful negative program from your past in your subconscious mind. So whatever has really made an impression in your life, over the expanse of your entire past, negative or positive, can be impacting your life today. The emotional charge of that event or image can be rekindled moment to moment, day to day, and it is easier and easier for that to happen the more you have relived it. So this is what we see in so many people these days. A negative emotional state recorded subconsciously from something that occurred in their past is creating an unhappy state each day in the present. And as a result, people are using addictive behavior to try to push down those feelings. It is easy to trigger those feelings because stress is a part of our present day-to-day life. If you created it that way. Now think about the truths that I shared. 95% of what we do, think and feel each and every day is directed by our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is like the operating system in our computer. It runs our life's programs. It is made up of our recorded beliefs, habits, behaviors and emotional states of being. Stated in a different way, your past is directing every choice you make today. Those choices will keep creating a future identical to the present. Our life is always a reflection of what is going on inside of us. If we don't like an aspect of our life, first, we must change. Our health is always a reflection of our thoughts and feelings. Our thoughts and feelings create a mood or state. Health is nothing more than a balance sheet. If we are loving and happy most of the time, it will be reflected in our health. The opposite is also true. If you are thinking that you are unhappy, not because of your past but because of how your life is now. Situations as they are right now. You are missing the big picture. The life you now have is of your making. The situations that you might think is creating the unhappiness in your life presently is nothing more than a reflection of the choices you have been making up until this point. Those choices are a reflection of the programs that you have lived your life by. Largely, your subconscious mind has engineered the life you now enjoy. Your beliefs have created the finances that you now have, the career you think you are capable of having and the relationship you think you deserve. Your habits have driven your actions to be congruent with those beliefs. Your learned emotional states of being are a major part of what makes up your personality, your attitude and drives your reactions. Those moods or attitudes will impact what you attract into your life and the health of every one of your trillion cells. It is said that life has a tendency of repeating itself. I hope that phrase makes sense now. That is also why one of the truths is that life will serve us lessons to grow, if we are willing to see them. Happiness is a positive emotional state of being. But, we can't just wish ourselves happy. If we want to live our lives joyful, loving and happy, then we have to take control of the operating system. We have to find a way to circumvent or bypass the limiting beliefs, bad habits, self-sabotaging behaviors and the emotional states of being that hold us prisoner to the level of happiness we now have. I am going to show you exactly how to do just that. It would be even better if we could actually stop playing old programs and write new programs that actually hold us in a positive, happy and loving state, to actually have the beliefs, habits, behaviors and states of being that create an extraordinary life. We will talk about that. First, let's talk briefly about what effect these states of being have on our health. Emotional states of being and your health. Research has now shown us that our bodies respond to the quality of the food we give it. Our bodies are healthier with nutrient-dense foods that are alkalizing, energizing, anti-inflammatory and provide us with the building blocks for growth and repair. Science has also proven that exercise increases the health of our heart, lungs and muscles, it increases blood and oxygen delivery, it increases energy production in all our cells, it assists in elimination of toxins and waste, it decreases stress and anxiety, and it makes us feel better. What you may not know is that scientific research has now proven that each of our cells responds to the chemicals associated with our emotional states of being. At the beginning of this book I wrote about how only 2 to 5% of human suffering was attributable to hereditary illnesses. So here is what we now know. In every one of our trillion cells there is our genetic code. This code or information made up of genes is passed down from our mother and father. It becomes the blueprint for creating proteins within the cell important to our health and survival. We used to think that our genetic code in the DNA of our cell nuclei could only make one type of protein in the cell. One code made up of a donation from mum and a donation from dad would be able to create only one type of protein. That is why we used to think that our health was out of our control, that we were a product of the genes or code that we were born with. Our lifespan, health and destiny was written not in the stars but in our genes. But, we soon realized that that was not true, that our cells were capable of making a huge number of different proteins off of the one genetic code. Thus the study of epigenetics was born. What epigenetics has proven is that the expression of different proteins is dependent on stimulus from the environment outside of the cell. Our cells have receptors on the outside of them and these receptors respond largely to chemicals in our bodies. Different chemicals will activate different receptors that stimulate our genetic code to start making different types and qualities of proteins. In neuroscience we call this the epigenetic expression on the genotype resulting in different phenotypical expressions of proteins. For our purposes here it means that different chemicals outside of the cell will stimulate the creation of different proteins inside of the cell. Those proteins can be healthy or unhealthy dependent, not on your genes, but largely on the type of chemicals outside of the cell that activate their production. It also means that if you have a genetic marker for a hereditary illness or cancer, let's say, it may or may not ever be expressed dependent on the signature of the chemicals affecting the outside of the cell. So you probably figured out what the chemicals are that we are talking about. That is right. Largely the chemicals released in association to how you are feeling. Obviously if we feel a certain way, let's say sad, for a temporary period of time, then although there might be some changes occurring within your cells, those changes are temporary. The type and quality of the proteins you are producing inside of the cells will return to healthy very quickly. But if you have a sustained emotional state of being ... and that emotion is negative, then I think you are starting to see how dramatically that could be affecting your health. Negative states like anger, sadness, guilt, remorse, worry, blame, jealousy, judgment, hate, insecurity, and even overwhelm and stress release chemicals that will affect the health of our bodies. I think the warning our mothers used to give us of "Be careful or you will worry yourself sick ... has now taken on a new and very real meaning. All of these negative states are a stress in the body. Stress breaks down the body the longer it stays in that state. Stress increases inflammation in the body, it makes the body more acidic, it raises our blood pressure, it depletes us of healthy hormones, and it weakens our immune system. Most importantly, stress and all of her emotional siblings listed above release hormones that create weak, unhealthy proteins within our cells. I think now we can start to realize how someone can eat perfect, not smoke or drink alcohol, and exercise daily, but can end up having poor health or suffer from an illness if they are in a habitually negative emotional state. And how someone who has smoked their whole life eats poorly might be able to offset that with a happy, carefree, loving and stress-free life. It would appear that humans are a little more complicated than we first thought. This information should not suggest that we should look to our emotions only for health and give ourselves permission to make unhealthy lifestyle choices. The most important aspect to this is to realize how our subconscious mind holds us in a pattern of living our lives in these negative emotional states and bad habits. We have to realize that those programs or states unaddressed will go on impacting both our health and our happiness. Let's look at an example. Me. I had habits that caused me to eat too much of the wrong types of food. I would set a goal of wanting to lose weight in the conscious mind and I would go on a diet. My subconscious mind would resist that change, it wanted me to stay with my old habits and as a result it always sabotaged my diet plans. Our subconscious mind is what we call our comfort zone, and it resists change. I always went back to old habits. Self-esteem struggles from my teenage years created a powerful negative emotional state of being. My way of dealing with that feeling was to push it down with food. Stress from work re-triggered those learned feelings, driving my unhealthy coping behavior. The costs were, my self-esteem got worse, I was robbing myself of my health and my happiness, and my stress got worse. This is the powerful struggle that everyone goes through. The conscious mind wants change and improvement, and the subconscious mind holds you prisoner to beliefs, habits and behaviors of the past. The obvious road then to both happiness and health is for us to take charge of our daily emotional states of being and to link those states to healthy lifestyle habits that feed both our spirit and our health. If we can spend most of our day in a positive state of love, joy, gratitude and happiness, we will not only have a wonderful life, it will have a direct impact on our health. Add to that lifestyle choices like healthy eating and exercise as an expression of self-love and self-respect, and you transform yourself. To do this we must harness the power before health and happiness. There is just one more thing to share before I give you 11 ways to do exactly that. The power before health and happiness. We have been talking largely about the power of the subconscious mind to hold us in a life limited by our past. If we are to break free from this prison of our own making, then we have to stop living our lives on autopilot, under the control of the subconscious mind. To do that, it will require that we become aware or cognizant of our thoughts. The more we allow our life to run on autopilot, the more control we give our subconscious mind. The more we become self-aware. The more we raise our level of conscious awareness, and the more control we will take back into our life. Metacognition is the process of observing, evaluating and reflecting on our thoughts. If you recall, after the age of 6 or 7, all learned patterns of behavior, beliefs, habits and all emotional states of being begin first with our thoughts. Everything that becomes a part of our subconscious mind gets through the conscious and emotional mind. To take control or to start creating new programs begins with first observing our thoughts. Our thoughts are the power before health and happiness. I have heard it said that 2% of us think, 3% think we think, and the other 95% try not to think. That statistic would suggest just how easy it is for our subconscious mind to take over our lives. Nothing could fall into the hands of old patterns and processes better than a conscious mind that does not want to engage. I don't buy into that statistic. I think that this statistic reflects more How many us live our lives under the influence of these programs? It does not reflect that most of us actually don't want to think. I know there are times when we don't want to feel. We have discussed that in great detail and the way we try to push down our feelings with self-destructive behavior. Overall, I think most of us enjoy being human with the power to think. Our subconscious mind is there to allow us to think about other things while doing something that is repetitive in nature, like brushing our teeth or driving. The problem is that most of our lives are repetitive, and so we find that the subconscious mind is playing a larger role in our lives than it is supposed to. Mindfulness and being consciously aware of the thoughts that we hold in our mind requires that we focus on what we are thinking about in the present moment. It requires that we become present and attentive to ourself, to the task at hand, and the thoughts that are racing through our mind. Taking back control also requires that we focus on our intentions as well, meaning we are aware of where we are going and the change we desire. One of the traps it is easy to fall into is using your review mirror as your guide to the future. Let me explain. Most of us live our lives using the left side of our brain as the master. This is a problem for us if we want to take charge of the attention we are putting on the present and the intention we are placing on our future. The left side of our brain is all about reasoning, analysis, judgment, rational thought and logic. It is very masculine in its energy and nature. These left brain processes use our personal beliefs, experiences and interpretations from the past as its frame of reference. That is to say that when you operate out of your left brain, you are forced to live in the past because your past references, your life's history and experiences, are guiding all of your reasoning, rationalizations and logic. You might be thinking, shouldn't we learn from our past? Absolutely we should. Our past should help guide us, not hinder us. The problem is that every time we reach into our past for a reference we are triggering our old beliefs, behaviors and emotional states of being. They are a part of all of our references from the past. As a result, our references become the roadblocks in our life. Left brain thinking will hold you prisoner in the very pattern that has created the health and happiness you now have. Your left brain gives you the rationale as to why you shouldn't do something new. Your left brain blames, rationalizes and judges everything so that you actually change nothing. Your left brain is the generator of realistic thinking. Realistic thinking is just another word for pessimistic thinking that gets its origins from fear. Your left brain craves order, and along with you subconscious mind maintains the comfort zone that becomes your life's prison. When your health, happiness and life never seems to change because you have to figure out the how and every step along the way before you are brave enough to start. You will never start. This is your left brain sabotaging your dreams. How many times have you wanted to improve or change something, your job, your relationship, your health and weight, your education level etc., but ended up doing nothing because you didn't know the how? That is left brain thinking at its best. Your subconscious mind creates the cement shoes that hold you to the same level of existence. And the left brain makes you afraid to even try to step forward because it reminds of why you shouldn't, based upon references from your past. How many parents have passed this type of thinking on to their kids? How many teenagers with dreams of going to university end up not going because their parents say it is not in the cards for their family? They get caught up in the how? How are you going to manage on your own? How are we going to afford it? How are you going to get in? You don't have the grades. How would you take over the family business? And they shut it down even when it is nothing more than a dream in their gifted child's mind. And yet life teaches us that when you really want something, knowing what it is that you want is all that matters. The how will present itself to you soon after you take the first step. So often, you don't need to know how, you just need to take the first step. I think it was Martin Luther King who said something like, you don't have to see the whole staircase, but you do have to take the first step. How many people find better jobs opening up soon after they quit the one they hate, find better relationships, lose weight and live a happier and healthier life when they are willing to take the first step. Most never even get started, too afraid to move because they don't have it all figured out. As a side note, I am not a personal growth author who advocates that an extreme and dramatic break in some part of your life, like ending your relationship or marriage for example, is the only way to improve your life or to find happiness. On the contrary, our greatest growth is always found in working through and improving ourselves, not running away from the life we have. You know, if you are in an abusive relationship or not, when your relationship needs work or when you need to work on yourself to improve the relationship. If you are in an abusive relationship or in a relationship that just isn't working anymore, then you probably know what the right step is for you already. The reason I bring this up is because I struggle with self-help authors today who are leading by example on how to run away from relationships as a means to spiritual enlightenment or finding themselves. Many of these personal development leaders are giving out relationship advice while being on their third or fourth failed marriage. In my opinion, if your answer to finding yourself, or dealing with a rough patch in a relationship, is to run away, then you are in reality running away from the personal growth work you need to do on yourself. I have been with my wife for over 23 years. We share this extraordinary love and marriage because of the work we did to grow as individuals, and the work we did together to make our relationship fun, loving, supportive and fulfilling. Most people who operate predominantly out of their left brain don't change because they are using their past as their reference. Running away is not changing. It might have changed their situation and environment, but it hasn't changed them. Those who are always running are living in the grass is always greener. On the other side mindset, in reality it is a scream for their own self-development. Living your life with your left brain as the master will cause you to stay with your feet firmly planted on the bottom floor. Of course, the next floor is where all the love, joy, happiness and health can be found. It is your choice. You can keep recreating the same future with the past beliefs, habits and behaviors that have been holding you back so far. You can find yourself engineering a future out of old references and the negative emotional states from your past that keeps your dream of unlimited health and happiness forever out of reach. You can create and engineer a future that is deserving of you. We have now established that your health is dependent on your happiness. A happy, joyful, loving state of being is what will create an incredibly healthy version of you. Your cells will create the healthiest expression of proteins that they are capable of, when the chemicals of love and happiness bathe them. In that state with a few associations, it is also easy to start making healthy lifestyle choices that only further elevates your health and happiness. And we have also established that the power of thought, directed with attention and intention. Is the power before health and happiness. We are now at the point where the rubber meets the road. It is now time to kick it up a notch. Are you ready to take the steps to climb up that staircase to the extraordinary life you want? Filled with health, happiness and fulfillment? If you are brave enough to commit to taking the first step. Then the next 11 steps will guide you on your journey of transformation. Step 1, right-brained happiness. When our thoughts and our hearts become one, we are in a state of being. That state of being repeated in experience or in our imagination can become a new subconscious program that can take on a life of its own. Said differently. Happy, loving thoughts create happy, loving feelings in our heart, body, and that state of being will promote health within the cells of our body. If stress deteriorates our health, then the opposite is also true. Being in a positive state promotes rebuilding, healing and facilitates even more feel-good hormones. When you are feeling a positive emotion, your entire body goes into a state that allows it to operate optimally physically, mentally and spiritually as a whole and on a cellular level. As that state begins to replace old programs, the subconscious mind will put you into this empowered state as its new default setting. That is to say, that these health-inducing chemicals will circulate consistently because your mind will draw you back to the thoughts and feelings that release them continually. If left brain thinking robs us of this new default program because it keeps us focused on our past, disconnected from our present moment feelings and our future. Then where does that leave us? Right brain thinking is the rightful master for living a wonderfully rewarding life. Right brain thinking has you coming from your heart first. It is everything that your left brain is not. Your right brain is the place for your imagination, creativity, intuition, optimism, compassion, goal setting and intention. It is feminine in its energy, loving in its origins and compassionate in its communication. It does not waste its time living in the past but focuses instead on the here and now, as well as the plans for the future. When you are living a heart-centered right brain existence, you find yourself living in the moment, excited and optimistic about where you are going. The left brain is not abandoned but takes its rightful place as the support team to the masterful right brain. When you give the control to the right brain, then past experience can be used as wisdom to grow rather than fear to stay still. Logic and reasoning become a catalyst to action orientation, always under the master's watchful guidance. But, we live in a world where feelings, intuition, imagination, creativity, and matters of the heart are being discouraged. And logic, scientific proof, deductive reasoning and male energy is being encouraged. Researchers have been looking at graduating university students and are finding that this generation of students is coming out as insecure conforming drones. The curriculum is so left-brained with rational knowledge, logic, scientific validation and competitiveness as its directive. Gone are the imagination, creativity and gut feelings that drive budding entrepreneurs. More and more we see women being forced to function like men just so they can survive in the male-dominated workplace. Even worse is time spent in the workplace is causing them to forget those maternal roots and their power. Regardless if you are a man or a woman, the workplace does not have to be a detriment to your happiness. But for that to be true, you have to make a concerted effort to always operate from that compassionate heartfelt source. And it helps if your job allows that source to thrive. So does your job give you the ability to create or to imagine? Does it have goals that you can get excited about or focused on? Is your job an expression of your passion? Do you feel like the job you are in feeds your compassion by allowing you to give or serve? Is your job helping you to achieve your goals or dreams? A great way to see right brain thinking in the workplace is to look at entrepreneurs. An entrepreneur, someone who owns her own company, taps into her right brain first as she envisions her dream of the business. Her imagination and creativity is stimulated and she fantasizes about where the business is headed. She thinks about how her business will make a difference in people's lives. Even day-to-day activity is exciting as it is always in relation to the intention. The vision of the business. The art of living in your right brain regardless of whether you are an entrepreneur, work for a company, are a stay-at-home mom or dad or don't work at all. Is to make sure you are thinking thoughts that come from your heart first. Every moment of every day you have a choice to focus on the past. Or embrace the present and envision a brighter future. Every day you have the ability to use your imagination and tap into your creative, artistic side. Every day you can look back at what is not working in your life, or you can focus on what is working today and what steps you can take to make it even better into the future. Every day you can hold yourself to a new standard. To face each moment and every person you come into contact with love, compassion and kindness. Observe and monitor your thoughts. Be sure that they are congruent with living your life through the majesty that is the right brain. Many of the remaining steps are designed to assist you in achieving this step. Step 2, Control and Responsibility. Our happiness is directly related to the amount of control we perceive that we have in our life. Unfortunately, we spend more time focusing on what we can't control than on things that we can control. We spent our time fighting to control things beyond our true control, ignoring the very things that if we did control them would instantly elevate our happiness. Start looking for what is within your ability to control and watch out for the things that you think are not in your ability to control but really are. So often we perceive that something is beyond our control when in reality it is only a false perception. It is a consequence of some of our former choices. Anytime we make a commitment to ourself and then break that agreement, we send a message to ourself that we can't be trusted. The cost of breaking that agreement is diminished self-esteem and a sense of being out of control. Once again, our past can be influencing our quality of life. If you have told your spouse or kids that you need to spend more time with them but always seem caught up in work. You have broken their trust and your own. All addictive behavior costs people their self-esteem and makes them feel out of control. If you thought that you shouldn't eat that donut but did anyway. You know the cost. If you thought you should stop at 2 drinks of alcohol but didn't. You know the cost. If you said it is time to lose some weight but gave it up because your family went out to the all-you-can-eat buffet. You know the cost. There is example after example of your inside voice asking you for a certain standard and you failing to meet that standard. As a result, the costs of breaking the agreement you made with yourself rips apart your self-worth and trust, leaving you feeling powerless and insecure. If you can't control your own behavior, how could you possibly get control of the different parts of your life? You begin to view your circumstances in life as out of your control when in reality you are the one who is out of control. The ability to change your circumstances has always been there, but you don't believe in you. Insecurities and weakness have taken control of you. When we feel this way, we will project those feelings onto things in our environment. Onto our circumstances. It is human nature to do so. So our perspective becomes skewed or biased. We doubt that we can get back the control in our own behavior, so we project ourselves as being a victim to our environment. We blame the fast food restaurants, the boss, the economy, the market, carbs, mother-in-law. Etc. The fastest and easiest way to get control in your life is to take responsibility for every thought and attitude you have. Monitor and observe. Is this thought serving me? Is it allowing me to create my right-brained life? Or is it old negative beliefs or programs trying to hold me down? If it is, release it and get your thoughts back to a place of love, compassion and kindness. Living in the present and focused on the future. Take responsibility for being accountable to yourself. If your inside voice tells you to do something. Listen to that voice and do it. Raise the bar. Become someone who walks their talk. You get all the power back when what you think and say matches what you do. Take responsibility for your actions and your results. People who live in a right brain consciousness know that everything that happens in their life happens for a reason, and that all results are of their creation. There is a valuable lesson in every result when you are willing to look for it. And all results are feedback on what actions to take next time. Everything is always a positive. There is profound respect for great men and women who take responsibility for their actions and do what they say. When you do, then you are walking in the footsteps with the likes of Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela and Gandhi. After you have started taking back the control of your thoughts and behaviors, look for all the things in your life that you can control and start taking responsibility for controlling them. Stop focusing on what you can't control. Take responsibility for your actions and commit 100% to following through on your personal agreements. When you take responsibility for your life, you take back the control. And high self-esteem and happiness becomes your reward. Step 3, Expansion and Growth. 3 to 4 times a week, I take a 30-mile bike ride down the beautiful trail lined by trees. Their branches and leaves create a canopy over the trail so that it feels like you are riding in a tunnel created by Mother Nature herself. The smells of the trees and plants, as well as the purity of the air, are amazing. The sounds of wildlife are everywhere, and if you tune in you can actually feel your own body's vibration rate begin to resonate with the vibration of life and nature itself. There is so much health, mentally, emotionally and physically, to be gained from spending time in nature. There are also huge lessons to be learned. Nature is always for growth, expansion and abundance. You can observe it in every part of nature. It is also true for us human beings. It is only humans that seem to forget it or mess it up. Instead of us looking to grow and expand in our lives, we are afraid of it, or we ask ourselves if we deserve it. Likewise, we fear abundance because we don't know if we are worthy of it. Falling prey to our limiting beliefs, we think that looking to growth or abundance somehow will make us appear greedy, or it might cause us to become less spiritual. Once again, the programs from our past come to rob us of the future we could have. So as a result we sabotage ourselves and start doing things that cause us to fall into a state of contraction, both physically and emotionally. Holding on to limiting beliefs or disempowering behaviors causes contraction. Not following your passions and dreams is denying your growth and full expression of expansion. Living in a negative emotional state causes contraction and ill health. In fact, all contraction is associated with ill health. Holding on to emotional pain or not granting forgiveness causes contraction. The reality is that you are either growing or dying, expanding or contracting. There is no standing still in life. The whole Popeye theory, for those that remember this cartoon character, of I am what I am is rubbish. Those who say that this is just the way I am are really saying that I am in a state of contraction, living in a prison of my own making, and I am choosing to stay here. One of the main reasons you should start spending time at least weekly in nature is to remind yourself of the fact that all things including you are for growth, expansion and abundance. There is no wrong of it. It is how the universe and nature designed it. Living with this awareness allows you to tap into your right brain thinking. Evaluate your life and ask yourself what beliefs from your past are holding you in contracted state. Then figure out what beliefs you could have right now that could set you free on your path of growth and expansion. And start living your life by those beliefs. And yes, you can change a belief in a moment. When you choose to commit to living by beliefs that only serve you. Forgive those that need to be forgiven. Not to let them off the hook. But to let yourself off the hook, free to expand and grow. Forgiveness is for you. You keep the pain alive inside of you by not forgiving them. Forgive them, forgive yourself and release yourself from the past. Stop being untrue to your gifts and passions, begin to follow your dreams, pursue your calling and give yourself the gift of growth and expansion. Have the courage to move towards your future with bold enthusiasm. When you do, you will find your best and happiest self, because we always have to grow and expand into our potential. One of the fastest ways to elevate your happiness and creates positive emotional states of being is by focusing on and doing things that allow you to grow and expand, and avoid things, behaviors and people that cause you to contract, constrict and wither. Whatever you have been putting on hold to do for you, now is the time to take it off the shelf. Paint, creating a new business, growing a vegetable garden, losing weight, volunteering to help the needy. Whatever it is. Make the time for your growth, expansion and happiness. Don't forget to spend time in nature for your health and happiness, and for the lesson that it reminds us of. Step 4, Creativity. Tapping into your personal creativity and imagination is a surefire way to live out of your right brain. Unlike replaying old memories, using your creativity keeps you focused and engaged in the present moment. Just like the mind cannot be both positive and negative at the same time, you can't be both creative and focusing on the limits of your past at the same time. Therefore there is inherent happiness in all things creative because it is meditative and positive at its core. For most of us, Creativity lives just below the surface, ready to be channeled whenever we call upon it. The problem for most is that because we don't use our creativity very often, we doubt ourselves and its existence. Don't use the past as a frame of reference, instead commit to being creative throughout your day from this point forward. Look for all the ways that you can be creative in your day. Can you be more creative in your communication with others? Can you be more creative in the workplace? Or ask for responsibilities that will challenge your creativity? Can you be more creative with your children, in play, in communication, and in teaching a homework or life lesson? Can you be more creative in expressing your love to your special someone? Is there a hobby, instrument or artistic endeavor that has been calling your name? Just don't think that creativity begins and ends with art. Life is filled with the opportunity to be either creative or to be on autopilot, a slave to old programs. Being creative is easy when you are willing to look for the opportunities to do so. Step 5, Intention. Intention is another way of saying, what are you trying to accomplish, or what are your goals, dreams and plans? Implicit in focusing on our intentions is future orientation, growth and expansion. When looking to the future, it creates excitement and optimism. Because we are moving towards something that inherently offers a brighter future or a greater quality of life, and happiness is our reward. The greatest thing is that our happiness is not dependent upon completion or accomplishing our intended goal. The second you establish what your intentions are and take the first step, you get all the perks. Just deciding on what you want in your life, where you want to go and where you want to place your energy will cause you to experience all the joy, optimism and happiness that comes with it. Intention requires establishing what you want, how you would like to change or where you want to be. It requires using your imagination. When it comes to our imagination, we are inclined to use it in a disempowering way. We use our imaginations to visualize scenes from our past, replaying them over and over again like old movies. We commonly change the outcomes or manipulate how the situation played out. But always in a scene from our past. Living in the past and strengthening old programs. How about instead, you can engage your imagination in the present as you search for the creative opportunity in everything in your life. Rather than wasting your imagination on strengthening programs that limit you, channel your imagination into your visions for the future. You can do, be and have anything in this world. Every person and everything that you see in this world today was created twice. First in the imagination and then made into reality. People who live in their right brain become the very person that their imagination envisioned that they would become. Doctors dreamt of becoming doctors, loving people imagined themselves as loving people, athletes dreamt of being athletes. They imagined being that person, then took the steps to become that person. Free from a limitation, and disempowering patterns of behavior and emotion, their vision became their reality. And you can do the same. This power can work both ways. People who get sick commonly wish that upon themselves as they actually worry themselves sick about not getting sick. What we focus on expands, what we think about, comes about, and everything is always created twice, first in the mind and then in the physical. Everything that we see and experience, buildings, homes, city infrastructure, crops, medical advancements, technological advancements and breakthroughs. Was created in the imagination of someone's mind and brought to reality through action, by taking the first step. What do you want to change in your life? What will you no longer settle for? What are your intentions for your future? Take the time to paint a beautiful future, your ideal future, and spend time thinking about and feeling the wonderful emotions associated with its achievements that you envision in your mind. That is the movie to play over and over again. The movie of your bright future. Step 6, Attention. If happiness can be found by identifying, declaring and visualizing our personal intentions, then joy, love and enthusiasm can be ours when we learn to place our attention on the present. Right-brained orientation in the present and future are dependent on these two working in concert with each other. If we live our lives in the past, either focusing on the past or a prisoner to our old programs, we know the costs. If we live our lives only dreaming of the future but ignoring the present, then we will be robbed of two things: the riches that the present holds, and the ability to take bold enthusiastic action towards the achievement of our intentions. But to gain the riches of joy, love and happiness, and move forward in action requires a different level of engagement. We have talked about how we have a tendency to wander through our lives disengaged, turned off. Letting our subconscious programs dictate our emotions, guide our actions and choose our behaviors. Imagine that you are in your car driving to a destination. The destination, ahead of you down the road, is the metaphor for your intention. Driving your car and focusing in the process is your attention. If you lose focused attention, then the car starts to slow, like you have one foot on the brake and the other on the accelerator. As a result, you start to become frustrated with your lack of progress, and that frustration only seems to ignite Murphy's Law, as you begin to attract more roadblocks, struggles and sabotaging thoughts. Happiness has disappeared and has been replaced with a life of effort, struggle and no positive momentum. Focused attention is placing your conscious awareness on yourself, your environment and the task at hand. It is as much self-awareness as it is being fully present in the moment. You are aware of your thoughts, your feelings and your intuition as it relates to the environment and the task. There is tremendous self-love, personal pride, joy and happiness that come from the simplest of tasks when your thoughts, heart and soul are engaged in action towards its completion. But what is vitally important to remember is that implicit to this attention is action orientation. Nothing changes if you don't take action. Now you are back in your car, cognizant of your intention, destination, but placing your attention in the moment in your driving. In this heightened state of mindfulness and self-conscious awareness, you travel the road appreciating the journey and the love and joy hidden in each moment, every step of the way. The drive is unencumbered in any way as your destination seems to quickly be reached. Intention on the future along with engagement and attention in the present brings a level of happiness that no addictive behavior could ever come close to matching. Through focused attention and action, our intentions will magically manifest into our life, and joy, love and happiness becomes our reward. Step 7, Vibration and Synergy. The science of quantum physics has advanced our understanding of how we work and why our lives are not really as chaotic and haphazard as they once may have appeared. Since the time of René Descartes in the 1700s, we have become aware of the laws that govern nature. It became readily apparent to Descartes that the human mind did not fit conveniently into this model. As a result, he left the study of the mind to religion and the rest of the universe to scientists and these laws. Newtonian physics only strengthened our understanding of these laws, but created a further divide in our understanding for how the mind works as it continued to not fall into that growing paradigm. Maybe one of the greatest abuses of this divide is that medicine used this mechanistic approach from this Newtonian paradigm to address health in the body. Ignoring the mind and the body's inherent ability to heal, medicine proceeded to look at the body as a bunch of parts, just like a mechanic does with your car. Cutting it out became the go-to treatment, soon followed by drugs that assisted the injured part but put the rest of the body at potential risk. Instead of a philosophy of the mind can heal and the body knows best. How can we assist it only when absolutely necessary? The philosophy of care and treatment became the doctor knows best. Medicine continued to ignore its greatest ally, the human mind, even after Albert Einstein introduced us to his theory that matter and energy were really the same. They were different versions of each other, and matter was nothing more than a stored, compacted version of energy. Since then we have come to understand the mind and the laws that govern it very well. Just like matter is energy, your thoughts are also energy. In fact, you are much like a radio tower. You give off an electromagnetic field. Let's look at the two parts of an electromagnetic field. Part 1, think of it as your thoughts and emotions send out an electrical field that communicates to the 1. Inside of your body with all of the energetic fields of your trillion cells. All of your cells are made up of atoms which, at their smallest level, are nothing more than energetic fields made up of particles and waves. 2. Outside of your body to other people in your environment. If you have ever felt the enthusiasm or anger from someone across the room, you have just picked up on that field of energy. Part 2, your field magnetizes or attracts like energies that match your own, to you. To understand it further, your rate of vibration does not stay the same, it changes as you change. Thoughts and feelings are energy. Your thoughts and associated feelings create emotional states of being, and those states speed up or slow down the vibration rate of your energy field. What this means is that depending upon your attitude or state of being, your radio tower is sending different messages at different times. Country music sometimes and upbeat dance music at other times. Positive thoughts and emotional states of being increase your vibration rate and as a result increase the vibration rate of all of your cells. Higher vibration rates are associated with higher levels of health, and lower vibration rates from negative thoughts and feelings are associated with lower levels of health. So once again, we see how a state of happiness is having a direct effect on our health and the health of our cells. It does it, inside the cell, from within the atoms that make up the cell, and externally, acting on the receptors on the cell membrane surface that will respond with different types and quality of protein expression. All steps prior to this one have been to get you to tap into the power of right brain thinking, because it is associated with positive, optimistic focus on your present and future. All steps like control and responsibility, growth and expansion, creativity, intention and imagination, attention, and the thoughts and feelings associated with each of those steps create a synergy that will elevate your vibration rate. These steps will have you tapping into thoughts and emotions that elevate your spirit and turn up your personal frequency. When you are vibrating at a high rate, you know it, your life works, you are excited by every moment, there is a charge, a passion or enthusiasm for life that is felt within you and experienced by all who come into contact with you. You can elevate your vibration rate simply by tuning into it. So, again we come back to another expression of why attention and awareness are so important to your happiness. While placing focused attention on any matter or task, you also allow that attention to include awareness of the self. Think of it as you are truly experiencing this task or moment for the very first time. Take it all in. Also, become aware of yourself in that moment. What are you feeling? What are your thoughts? What is your personal frequency? Because of their intimate link, your emotions or feelings are the greatest feedback to your vibration. If you are trying to understand what energy you are sending out, ask yourself how you are feeling. If love, joy and bliss are how you are feeling, then you are vibrating at a very high rate. If you are not, you can elevate your frequency or vibration rate by elevating the thoughts and feelings being experienced in that moment. How? Let me show you in our next step. Step 8, love, compassion and kindness. It is easy for us to think of someone who is truly good in this world, either people we know personally or people from history whose story continues to be told, like Buddha, Jesus Christ, the Dalai Lama, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa or Gandhi. Although they are often described for their acts and what they accomplished, what would be universal to them all would be their ability to come from a place of love, compassion and kindness. Remember that consciousness, your thoughts, are energy, and different states will create different rates of energetic vibration. Interestingly, these three qualities, love, compassion and kindness, are associated with highest rates of vibration. Every one of us has experienced moments of love, moments of compassion and moments of kindness in our life. You know how it felt and how fantastic those moments were. At those moments you were in touch with a side of you that is brighter, more energetic and more radiant than any other times. Love, compassion and kindness literally bring out the best in us. It is at those times when your personal frequency was vibrating the fastest and the strongest. At that moment you became a beacon, broadcasting love, health and happiness into every one of your trillion cells and out to the world. Why must those moments be few and far between? Aren't we now looking to control our states of being ... to let intention and attention move us to ever-increasing self-expression? Can't we with just a little intention and imagination put ourselves in a state of love, compassion and kindness? Of course we can. The reason we don't is because we are too busy living our lives on autopilot, letting our subconscious programs run our lives, too busy distracted by technology, too busy focusing on our insecurities and too busy splitting our attention in a bunch of different directions. How much kindness can you show a stranger when you hide your face in your iPod? How much compassion and time can you offer someone when your life is chaotic and out of control? How much love can you share with anyone you come into contact with when you are stressed out about all that you must do and in a negative state of being? Part of your intention in every moment should be available in that moment to self and to others, and to come from a place of love, compassion and kindness. Practice fostering and cultivating this feeling throughout your day. Many times when I am on my bike, riding through nature, feelings of love and compassion are what I am cultivating, for myself, for nature and for my connection with the rest of humanity. The more love you are able to give to yourself, the more love you will be able to give to others. Giving that love will only increase the amount of self-love you have. Look for the opportunity to bring compassion to any situation and all people you deal with. Your entire communication verbally and non-verbally will change the second you start coming from your heart. Take your nose out of technology whenever someone else is around. There is plenty of time to communicate with others via your phone or Facebook when alone. View every opportunity with others, even passing strangers, as an opportunity to connect with compassion and kindness. A simple smile and a good morning, even one that is not reciprocated, when it comes from your heart. You feel the reward in every cell of your being. You will be amazed at how such an intention can impact your state and happiness. Your intention should be to come from a place of love, show compassion for yourself and others, and practice random acts of kindness whenever possible. Placing your attention and awareness in the present will make this intention easy. By cultivating love as your default emotional state, you tap into the happiness and health that you have always deserved. Step 9. Self-respect. It has been said that people will only treat you as well as you treat yourself. It can also be said that you will only love and respect for yourself equal to the way you treat yourself. We have established that cultivating self-love is hugely important in your quest for happiness and health. In fact, it should be clear to you now that self-love is the precondition to true happiness and therefore health. The more you love yourself, the easier it will be for you to stay in a loving emotional state of being. Loving others and feeling a state of love is dependent on loving yourself, and that self-love is dependent of self-respect. Doing things or acting in a way that consistently dishonors your self-respect can destroy how you feel about yourself. All addictive behavior has this effect on your self-respect. The fastest road to a lack of love for yourself is to continually participate in behaviors that undermine your self-respect. As I said earlier, any activity that hurts you in some way, hurts your health, hurts your self-image, isn't true to your passions, or goes against your values or identity. Will hurt your self-respect. Addictive behaviors are some of the most obvious ways we do this. We often participate in self-destructive behaviors because we are trying to push down emotions from our past or are operating on old beliefs and habits. The easiest way to break these behaviors is to take responsibility for our states of being, our choices, our actions and our results. Take control of everything in our life that we have the ability to control. Beginning with our thoughts and feelings. Focus on the beauty of the present through our attention and action, and look to the future via our vision of intention. All the while enjoying the peace and optimism they bring. Elevate self-love and health into our value system and our hierarchy of priorities. The only reason people don't do the right thing is because health and protecting how they feel about themselves is not a high enough priority or value. It is one thing to look at a donut and say, I shouldn't eat that because I need to lose weight. Then choosing to eat it anyway and writing it off as tomorrow is another day, continually putting it off for a day that never comes. These are the actions that diminish the self-respect we have for ourselves, but nothing ever changes. It is completely different to place health and self-love at the top of your value system and to then behave in a way that rips apart the very fabric of that identity. Your lifestyles are a reflection of the level of self-love and self-respect you have. You know inherently whether those lifestyle choices are respecting and honoring your body and health, or hurting them. That is why we can say that someone's weight and health is always a reflection of what is going on inside of their mind. Lifestyle choices like eating healthy most of the time, exercising daily, drinking moderately, meditating and enjoying nature often. These are a reflection of someone who respects themselves and honors the love they have for themselves. On top of that, choosing to chase your dreams, be true to yourself, honor your value system, be assertive when necessary, address areas where you need to grow and improve, seek love and happiness, make time for you, are all feedback to yourself that you matter. When you do the above and choose to live a healthy lifestyle, it sends a message to you and to all others that you care and respect yourself, and they should do the same as well. Choose to honor and protect your self-respect. It is the foundation of the level of the love you have for yourself. The same level of love that impacts your happiness, health, peace of mind and quality of life. Step 10. Be grateful. Other personal development authors have talked about how important it is to be grateful, and I couldn't agree more. In fact, I am going to take it to the next level. The reason why an entire step is dedicated to being grateful is because most people do not spend a lot of time being grateful because they are too busy focusing on what is not working or what is missing in their lives. They do this because their chronic negative emotional states spawn negative thoughts that create the lenses that see only lack, limitation and discontentment. Most people don't utilize this powerful tool to leverage their present and future for optimum results and to achieve the change they desire. It is a powerful tool for tapping into right brain thinking and has an immediate elevating effect upon your thoughts and feelings. As you recall, different states of being have different energies, frequencies or rates of vibration, and therefore send out different messages to our body and to the world. Gratitude is a powerful and positive emotion that raises your vibration. When we are in a state of gratitude, we are being appreciative for the things that are already in our lives and for the person you are right now. Therefore, implicit to the act of being grateful is appreciation of the abundance you have experienced and acceptance for the person you are. Acceptance is an important precondition to self-love, so being grateful for who you are is tremendously empowering. As you recall, part of our electromagnetic field is the ability to attract or magnetize into our lives energies that resonate with our own energetic vibration. You may have heard that birds of a feather flock together, or people seem to find others that are similar to themselves to befriend. It is the inherent attraction of energies that drives this phenomenon. When you are in a state of gratitude for what you have, you will attract more of that abundance to you. Remember that matter is energy. And when you are sending out energy in gratitude for the abundance in your life and your surroundings, then more of the same will be attracted to you. Many people who are discontented struggle to feel grateful because they think that feeling grateful will only give them more unhappiness. They feel that being grateful for a mediocre life will keep them stuck there. They don't realize that by staying unhappy, focusing on what they don't have and resisting the feelings of gratitude, they are holding themselves prisoner to their present conditions. Placing oneself in a state of gratitude for who you are and what you have is the best place to begin to actually grow and change your situation. But, how do we really use this powerful tool? You see, if your mind can't tell the difference from what is real and what is imagined, why couldn't you? Imagine having what you want. Be grateful for what you have, but also be grateful for what you want. Imagine that you already have what it is that you want, like it is already in your possession, and act grateful for having it. You will literally attract it into your life. How about imagining the love, health and happiness in your life you want as if you already have it, and then acting grateful for it? How easy do you think it would be for you to get into a place of love, compassion and kindness if you were to be grateful for the level of love, health and happiness you want as if you already had it? How hard do you think it would be to take action steps, along with a present mind attention, congruent with bringing the change into reality? You can have, do, be and become anything you choose, including being happy and healthy, when you take the time to be appreciative and grateful. Gratitude for who you are, for all that you have in your life, and for all the wonderful people in your life is a powerful tool for creating new subconscious programs in your life. Being grateful now in advance, for all that it is you wish to become or have in your future is a powerful tool for transforming your life. Step 11, the dreamer, the visionary. If I had to take the first 10 steps to achieving the level of love, health and happiness you desire and somehow put all that we have discussed into one lesson or step, then, this would be it. Think of your life as a dream. Your life, your dream, is something you can engineer, direct and create when you take on the role as the dreamer. Have you ever been asleep dreaming, but you are beginning to wake up, and as a result you are able to direct where the dream goes? If you want to possess the power before health and happiness, then you must approach your life as something that you can direct. You are the dreamer of your dream. As a dream plays out in your sleeping state, it is happening in that moment and it moves to the future with each passing second. Your life, dream, also only lives in the moment and moves towards the future. Living in the past only holds you to a predictable future of old. Victims, blamers, judges, realists, pessimists and those who view themselves as powerless are people who go through their lives drowning in their own dream. They never realize that they are living a dream of their own making, largely because the choices and behaviors that have engineered their life are initiated from their own past limiting beliefs, disempowering habits and behaviors, and negative emotional states. Freedom from such an existence is to embrace that everything happens for a reason and that only the dreamer can change the dream. Ultimate freedom comes from the willingness to realize that the dreamer, you, begins all change through self-reflection. The dreamer must be willing to be open and honest as to what is happening in their life that is not working or is unfulfilling. It is in this moment of clarity and honesty that we can evaluate the imperfections of the dream as it is. Where are you compromising your health, values and self-respect? Where are you sacrificing your goals, aspirations and passions? Where are you letting yourself down and belittling your own level of self-trust and self-esteem? Where are you out of balance and out of integrity with your authentic self? These are the questions I asked myself when I came out of the hospital. And I suggest you ask yourself the same questions. Then, after being open and honest and with those answers, start changing the dream. To change the dream, the dreamer must take control and responsibility for all of his or her attitudes, actions and results. The dreamer must take conscientious steps to grow and expand as a self-actualizing individual. The dreamer must know her intentions. The intentions that will come from asking the questions above. And with those intentions established, the dreamer will live each moment with her attention on mindfulness and conscious awareness to the task and environment, and to the thoughts and feelings of the present moment. Present moment awareness and future orientation are the tools of the dreamer. It is in every moment and the quality of your choices that you as the dreamer can engineer a future that is brighter, happier and more rewarding. The key to maximizing every moment is attention and awareness, and to come from a place of love, compassion and kindness for yourself, the environment and others. The key to improving your choices is to always honor your truth, passions and self-respect in every choice. All of the above reinforces right brain thinking, and along with using your creativity and visualizing your new dream, will keep you firmly on your path as the creator of your life or the dreamer of your dream. Our life, health and happiness is always a reflection of what is going on in our minds and the choices that we make. You are now the dreamer. As a result, you feel empowered and enthusiastic by the new sense of control you have to literally rewrite your health and happiness. All that you have wanted in your life, the body and health, the love and happiness, the reward and fulfillment, and the balance and peace of mind are yours to have. It's your dream, and as the dreamer you can make it into anything you choose. Dream a beautiful and extraordinary dream, won't you? Moving forward. I hope you enjoyed this book and the information I discovered as a result of my own journey. It is my hope that this is not the end of our connection but only the beginning. I have so much more I would love to share with you if you are interested. You can find more information at http://www.mikeamountain.com. Feel free to join my subscriber list as I share with you in-depth tips into health, happiness, the law of attraction and weight loss information. Until then, live healthy, love fully and make it a great day. Yours in health and happiness, Dr. Mike Mountain.